Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Okay, everyone would have heard of this analogy, at least once, I'm sure, about the frog in a boiling pot of water. You know, this analogy about, well, it's a metaphor taken from an anecdotal parable about boiling a frog. The parable states that a frog placed in boiling water will immediately try to save itself. But once placed in cool water that is gradually brought to a boil, will not notice the heat until it is boiled to death. The analogy is often used to describe abusive relationships and this kind of thing. Anyway, I was thinking about this analogy. This is how I feel the world in general, but specifically Australia. Let's just hone down what's happening in Australia. This is how I feel like we Australians are just, sitting in that nice cool place, and the temperature's slowly heating, getting turned up, and we're slowly being brought to a boil, and no one's really noticing. We're getting boiled to death. No one's noticing. We got all these things happening, and we keep on making allowances. I see our leadership, whether you look at political leadership or leadership within police, which I just happen to talk about quite a bit. It's very poor, and yet we slowly let it's decayed over generations, and we've just allowed it to happen. We just put up with it. We put up with the corruption that we see in government. We put up with the corruption that we see in our law enforcement. We put up with so much. It's just so I think that analogy of the frog being boiled is very apropos to Australia. Why I'm saying all this. So I did an episode in 2021. You can't even get it on YouTube anymore. I'll put up the link, but you can only listen to it on Spotify. Now, please, if you do listen to it, be gentle. Okay, it's back when not long first started doing the podcasts, and I could only do it on the Spotify podcast app. It was only all audio. There was no video, nothing like that. And I had the little music playing in the background and that. So just, okay, I get it. It's a little corny. It's a little hard to hear some of it. But if you do listen to it, be kind. That's all I'm saying. I know it's not the best production, that's for sure. Anyway, so getting on to this. So in 2021, I did this episode, and it's called Will Electric Vehicles Mean More Government Control? We'll put the link up so you can listen to it if you want. The whole reason why I was talking about this is in the UK, they wanted to, at that time, they were looking at passing it, and it's already passed, but they were proposing laws to be able to switch off EV home chargers during, well, they said it would be during peak hours. If the load got too much for the grid, well, then they'd be able to turn it off. The government would be able to flick a switch and turn off your EV home charger. So if you were building a new home, everything would have to be connected up to the central grid, and they would be monitoring your electricity usage. But if you were, had your own supply going on, solar power and all that kind of thing, and had your battery connected, they would be able to turn it off. And if you were charging your electric vehicle, they'd be able to switch that off too if there was too much load coming over the grid. And I'm looking at it, reading it, going, wow, government control. All I could think of is this is a way for government to be able to control the masses in the future. So many people heading towards electric vehicles, and the more people that were connected to the centralized grid, and the government would be able to monitor and just flick the switch if they decided, there was too much load going on. So hey, you can't charge your electric vehicles. All I could see is problems and government control. So anyway, so I did this very corny episode in 2021, October of 2021. So you can imagine my surprise. Actually, here, I'll bring up the so you can just see what the episode looks like. There you go. Will electric vehicles mean more government control? Yeah, so that's on Spotify. So anyway, so imagine my surprise when I saw this and reading through this article last night, and I thought, wow, I was talking about this a couple of years ago, saying, wait, this is going to lead us down a bad path because we're just giving over more control to the government. You know, there's all this talk about 15-minute cities, which is obviously what they want to try and they're trying to direct our civilization into 15-minute cities. They want everyone to go into electric vehicle use. Why do they want this? Because they can control our comings and goings. They can control our movements, tell us where and when we can go to places. This is what I think will eventually happen. Anyway, let's check out this video. And yeah, I don't think it's any surprise this is what we've got going on.
It might not look like it, but Pippa Buchanan's house is in many ways a modern type of power plant.
This is literally the beating heart of the system.
A battery is attached to the wall of her garage at Kawarama, 3 hours south of Perth. The battery, in turn, charged by an array of solar panels on the roof above. Inside the house, the system largely runs everything, from the lights in the oven to the fridge and the washing machine.
It runs
what doesn't
everything.
get used
That's not bad.
is exported.
We probably are oversupplied for our current needs. Like, we've got a small child, she doesn't use that much energy.
Like millions of other Australians, Pippa and her husband took the plunge and invested in solar 4 years ago. But unlike most others, their arrangement is unusual. They're part of a so-called virtual power plant in which an energy company leases them solar panels and a battery. In return, there's a catch.
When they need to, they can use our battery either as storage or as supply to the grid, and they can also occasionally turn our solar panels off if they need to.
Do you hear what she just said? They can also occasionally turn our solar panels off if there's a need to. That's exactly what you want.
Much supply.
Energy companies say the circumstances where solar needs to be spilled are rare, and households are forewarned and compensated. They say Australia's occasional overabundance of solar needs to be managed, and VPPs can help.
When you install solar and battery in people's homes, they all individually have a power plant that can provide that exact same service. But they're too small individually. When you put them together, they can add up to something that's quite significant.
Coordinating Australia's rapidly growing fleet of solar panels, batteries and other clean tech looms as a key plank and key challenge of the energy transition. Experts say it should be encouraged, particularly where households participate willingly, but they're warning against heavy-handedness.
Building a network that is oriented around the customer is the issue, and it's really one that government needs to get a solid grip on.
Trust is everything in the energy industry and just generally with any brand trying to do business with customers.
For Pippa Buchanan, the sacrifice is worth the rewards.
It's a real privilege to be able to have solar panels, to take advantage of the technology. But there's also a responsibility to the greater health of the grid.
Through adaptation comes resilience.
Okay, so what do you think of that video? Do you think it's a good thing? Look, I'm not against solar panels, solar power. I'm not against the batteries. I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think if you can get off the grid, my personal choice would be to be completely off grid. That's my personal choice. I do I do have some concerns. Did you hear the conversation, the narrative there, the talk? Well, it's all about trust. The government needs to get a handle on this. But trust between the customer and the electricity supplier. You're giving them the ability to shut down your power, and trusting that they're going to do the right thing. And supposedly they have to give you notice when they're going to do these things. So, except for obviously when there's an emergency, when government can declare an emergency and decide, well, we just have to do this, or we'll give you notice. All right, it'll be about 5 minutes notice. But the fact that we're called upon to trust the government, to trust these these entities who have control over our power and supposedly allowed to just be able to switch it off. But it's all about trust. I've got no trust. What I think, what I believe, where I believe this will eventually take us. I think the government's, and this isn't just happening in Australia, this is happening globally. Okay, there might be a little bit of a pause on this because of what's happening in America, and they've got the Republicans in at the moment, and there's a bit more common sense flowing. We are being thrust down this line of clean energy. But the real reason why government is wanting us to go down there is because they want to gain control. They want to be able to push us down there so they can, in the long run, switch us off, switch the power off. Hey, no. We don't want you out there. We don't want you doing other things. We want to be able to control because it'll be for the sake of the environment. Well, no. These people aren't allowed to use their vehicles today. In the long run, this is taking us down towards what will happen during the, as I said, I'm a Christian, down towards what will happen in the tribulation period where you cannot buy or sell. You can't buy or sell. Oh, you do want to buy or sell? Well, we're also going to control whether you can actually leave your home. This is where we're going. This is what climate activists want. They want to be able to control. It's all good for them to fly around the country, fly around the world, and tell everyone else what they need to do and how they can't, get out in their cars and drive around while they get out in their multi-million-dollar jets and fly around everywhere and, fly back to their massive mansions and do whatever they want. But you and I, they need to control us. They need to control us. This has been coming along for years and years. As I said, I did that episode in October 2021. It came into the UK and it's being pushed into the back door in Australia. The more control they have, the more they'll be able to dictate what it is that we can and cannot do in our private lives. Nothing will be private anymore. And we're just going to see more government control. We're going to see more heavy-handedness from police. The reason why I wanted to talk about this today, and the reason why I wanted to talk about that in 2021, is you can see this is coming. You can see, I think, if we all, wake up and get out of the boiling water that's slowly getting turned up, you can see what is coming down the track. You can see the danger that is coming ahead. And we need to be warning each other. We need to be talking about it. We need to be able to make these decisions ourselves and not just have legislation coming in the back door that we don't even know about it. And as we see here in Australia, they constantly say, "Oh, we're gonna pass this legislation. Hey, don't look into it too heavily. Don't analyze it too much. We don't want to see all the detail." But the devil is always in the detail. So we need to scrutinize all legislation. We need to wake up. Don't be like the frog being slowly boiled in the water. We need to wake up and see the dangers that are coming towards us. Our government does not have our best interests at heart. This will not be good if you go and give control to these entities, to the government, so that they can just flick the switch and tell you, "Oh, sorry, we've just declared an emergency, so we've just had to flick your power off and you can't use, we're going to take the energy and use it for ourselves. You can't use it." This is not good. We need to wake up, Australia. This is all my opinion. I'm Jay Fallon. Please like and share. Check out my music on Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. And let me know what you think. I'm Jay Fallon. Thanks for listening to the Slippery Slope.
They just fuel a desire that will take me high.